While valuation may not be an exact science, there are a variety of tools that can be used to try to at least approximate a mathematical value. And by combining several methods, it may be possible to eliminate some of the uncertainty and get at least within spitting distance of the right value. Each of these tools has strengths and weaknesses, but an effective investment banker understands and knows when and how to apply each. Precedent transaction analysis is a valuation method in which the price paid for similar companies in the past is considered an indicator of a company's value. Precedent transaction analysis relies on publicly available information to create a reasonable estimate of multiples or premiums that others have paid for a publicly traded company. The analysis looks at the type of investors that have purchased similar companies under similar circumstances in the past, and examines whether the companies making the acquisitions are likely to make another acquisition soon. Let's start with the steps to perform precedent transactions. Step 1. Screen and identify comparable transactions. The first step to the process begins by looking for other transactions that have happened in, ideally, recent history and are in the same industry. The screening process requires setting criteria such as industry classification, geography, size, financials, customers and employees, type of company, public or private, type of buyer such as private equity, strategic competitor, public-private, deal size value, and valuation multiple paid. Step 2. Determine valuation range of transactions. Once a transaction list is prepared, the average or median valuation multiples can be calculated. The most common multiples for precedent transaction analysis are EV to EBITDA and EV to revenue. An analyst may exclude any extreme outliers, such as transactions that had EV to EBITDA multiples much lower or much higher than the average. Step 3. Use the transaction's valuation ratios to value the target co. after a range of valuation multiples from past transactions has been determined. Those ratios can be applied to the financial metrics of the company in question. For example, if the average EV to EBITDA ratio of the group of transactions is 13 times, you will multiply the EBITDA of the company you are trying to value by 13 times to arrive at their enterprise value. Precedent transaction analysis creates an estimate of what a share of stock would be worth in the case of an acquisition. The advantage of this method includes the purchase price includes a premium. This could be advantageous if we were looking to acquire a company. It would help us determine how much of a premium we would need to consider in order to convince the owner or shareholders to hand over the company to us. The method is also useful in M&A negotiations and discussions. The method also provides guidance to assess what a buyer may be willing to pay for a business. The downside to this method include every transaction is different, and thus it might be difficult to find a directly comparable transaction. And the public data used in the analysis is based on past transactions that may not be indicative of current market conditions. Additionally, there are other factors in play which may affect the transaction multiples paid, such as governance issues, specific agreements, synergies, and intangible values, such as patents and other intellectual property.